Hey, welcome to Captive Audience. I am Sunny Danforth, a truth seeker. And so today is the last Friday of August. We are nearing the end. Actually, it is. We've got tomorrow and Labor Day weekend. I hope everybody's going to have a good time, enjoy whatever it is that they're doing, and hopefully with family and friends. There's a lot of things I would like to cover today, and um, so we're just going to dive right in. We have some good news, maybe. We have to see where it's going to all shake out, but it is projected the new kicker refund nears $1 billion in Oregon. This is like unheard of. And I say, we hope that it will, you know, come to fruition, but we're going to have to see, right? Don't hold your breath until they finally come out with what's going on. But according to the Oregon Catalyst, in an article, the economic forecast came in this week, and the economy is doing better than expected. Nearly $2 billion in over-collected tax revenue, but came in above what was projected and beyond what the legislature budgeted for. When tax revenue exceeds 2% of the budget and what was projected, the wonderful Oregon Constitution kicker refund law kicks in and refunds these over-collected revenues back to Oregon. And this year, the average Oregonian received a $900 kicker refund on their April taxes. So we're going to have to see, but wow, $1 billion of overpaid taxes, more than, and yet we have the highest spending per student in Oregon for education. The teachers are constantly striking, and so I say not constantly. That's over exaggeration. Annually, and are getting promises of more money and getting raises. And then we have the gross receipts tax, and but yet they'll tell you that, oh no, our economy just hasn't recovered yet. Well, no, with all the taxes, this is taxes from local businesses and us, the citizens of Oregon. But something that is interesting is that Oregon's top economists have quit. So who's going to calculate the kicker? And that was a headline 2 days ago, okay? Where today's headline is somebody has figured it out. So who figured it out? I don't know. And the economists, they have a very difficult job, but they're supposed to guess. That's what I think anyway. And they announced the Oregon's interim state economist announced his resignation on Wednesday, the second person to leave the post this year. And they're supposed to issue a forecast. The state economist is supposed to issue the forecast that helps set the state budget. And these forecasts also determine whether taxpayers will receive a kicker rebate and how much. Well, I have read reports right here on Captive Audience in the past that well, the economists were off so much, we have to give Oregonians all this money back. Well, they can't. I'll tell you, I feel like the state legislators cannot get creative enough on ways to spend the money. Is it just me? Do you guys feel like that too? That they just can't figure out ways to spend all the money, because we got boatloads of money, $1 billion. We're raking in money hand over fist in Oregon, in a state that supposedly has no sales tax. Supposedly, I say, because it's in fees, licenses and other things like that. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you. And then this story that came out yesterday, the forecast continued economic uncertainty is cautioned. And that is and that's the Senate Republicans. They are calling for fiscal restraint. And yet they've got so much revenue. So this is interesting. So apparently, the latest revenue forecast reveals the Oregon's economic situation remains precarious with stagnant growth, persistent inflation, and rising costs posing ongoing challenges for the state. And so, despite modest revenue increases, let's see, in fees, right? The forecast underscores the need for cautious budgeting and prudent spending as the state faces significant economic uncertainty. So now I have just read you 3 headlines, some of which, in my viewpoint, contradict the other. Which do we believe? The kicker when we get it back, if and when we get it back, they seem to be pretty adept at using that up. And somehow, oh, we've got something. So, they're going to take the money. Portland teachers went on a near I mentioned the strike, right? Well, Portland teachers went on a near 3-week strike for higher pay, and their new contract means that most teachers will soon be making over $100,000 a year. And I don't have a problem with that if they weren't teaching DEI in our schools. I think people that are doing a good job should make money at their job, but not when the bar is gone to what students have to achieve in order to graduate from public school. There is no bar any longer. And the business surplus tax revenue does not get returned to businesses, but rather sent to an educational fund. And even with this bonus, an unexpected $883 million, Oregon liberal politicians are still talking about raising taxes to fund more money for education. And yet, wait a minute, wasn't the lottery to fund education? It's a lie after a lie after a lie, and we have record-breaking revenue in this state. I think what the Oregon legislatures could be talking about is they're not going to get all of the COVID dollars, which the state, county agencies, maybe even city municipalities got used to this flush with cash. We're just going to the federal government's going to throw the money at you. And they're going, oh, okay, we'll live on this standard now. But they don't. They always want more. Government never, ever wants less. And, that's my experience. Is that your experience too? Yeah. So it is, but yet now here we have I've got more on the money in Oregon here. The federal government is going to hold its first ever offshore wind auction off the coast in October. This story is updated story, and this is despite the vehement opposition from coastal communities, the state's fishing industry, and local tribes, who say the process was rushed and ignored local input. But the U.S. Department of Interior is going, we're moving on. The Oregon, we're going to do it. You're going to have to eat this, like it or not. The auction is going to be held by the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management on October 15th, and will include 2 areas totaling nearly 195,000 acres. The Coos Bay lease area consists of 61,203 acres and is about 32 miles from shore. And the Brookings lease area is over 133,000 acres and about 18 miles from shore. So federal officials say the two areas could generate more than 3.1 gigawatts of renewable energy if fully developed, enough to power 1 million homes. It's a shell game, you guys. The turbines don't hardly last on land, let alone out in the ocean and the salt environment. You know, it's it doesn't it doesn't last, and it's pretty reliable around the ocean because you have trade winds, and that is what makes it reliable. And I have a little more story on this. I'm going to post this article for you because it is interesting. It has some really, yeah, at what cost? At what cost is, you are correct. At what cost? Well, how do all of us like our energy, um, and our electricity rates going up? You know, PGE, they did, and PPNL, they just keep asking for more, and the PUC keeps giving them more. And so our rates are going up, and this is the feds saying, we're going to do this. Thus far, the Interior Department has approved 9 commercial scale offshore wind projects, 2 of which are under construction off the coast of New York and off the coast of Massachusetts. And, you know, we've seen or read the stories of the whales coming ashore, dying like left and right, like we've never seen before. And the truth of the matter is, we don't need this. This is destroying the environment in the name of what, we're going to protect it. It's BS. That's my opinion. And then more federal money is the feds shower Oregon with millions for electric vehicle charging stations. Well, you know, I don't know if you heard, but and I might not have the figures correct here, but the Fed said we're going to spend, you know, let's just call it $1 billion on developing electric vehicle charging stations. You know however much money it was for, they built 5 across the U.S. 5. Where did that money go? Truly, where did the money go? So now Tualatin, Albany, and the state of Oregon get electric vehicle charging support from Biden's administration. And it is to the grant to Tualatin will bring more public charging stations to 17 cities, from Portland down to Salem, mainly at multi-housing locations. You can read apartments. And so I have a little funny story about that. I mentioned it here, that we had I believe I mentioned it here. There was somebody that was looking to rent from us that had an electric vehicle. And I said, well, I don't know about that. Our manager contacted us and said, well, we have to first see. I don't even know what they draw. Can the plug that's outside, can it break or handle it? Can we handle the draw? So on and so forth. So they hired an electrician to do the research, figure out the whole thing. Well, let me tell you, in the end, the person that whose vehicle this was said, this is a pain in the ass. I'm selling the car. Forget it. And apparently had a problem finding a place to rent to plug in this electric vehicle. And they sold the vehicle. And they're moving in. So go figure, I had no idea how much of a hassle it was. And we don't have any charging stations for that at all. And I don't plan on applying for any grants to install any. Um, it's just the way it is. So it's it just apparently that car was not such a good deal. But what I wanted to talk about, and my point is bringing, is what the federal government's doing, reinforcing this whole EV stuff and electrical, the wind turbines offshore. And yet, here I have a great story. And I say that tongue in cheek, is that, and this is from Central Oregon Daily. I'm going to post that here. Is that this story is about the energy demand from data centers is growing faster than the West can supply them. And when I first saw this story, I went, "Wow, this." And this is from Monday. This story was from Monday. I went, "Wow, this ought to be interesting." And our demand is not just data centers, but our demand is not is more than our supply can be. This is why there's brownouts. You remember California was going, okay, here, you've got to have an electric vehicle. And then it was like 2 weeks later, they said, oh yeah, don't plug them in. We're going to have some rolling brownouts around Los Angeles and in California because the demand is more. You have everybody plugging in their cars. You have everything, all of us have a cell phone, all of the electronics that we have, more so today. Scooters, bicycles, cars, those, what are those little two-wheel things you go on? I don't know. I love watching the videos of people falling off of them because they're kind of humorous. I don't want anybody to get hurt, but, they're kind of funny to watch. But we have more things electrical now than the grid could take. And then you add data centers, which this article shocked me because of how many data centers there is in Oregon. All right, I'm going to ask you, anybody want to take a guess? How many data centers are in Oregon? I'm waiting. So there are a lot, and I was shocked. I had no idea how many, and I had no idea there in this article that I just posted is a map of where they are. And so I will tell you, Bobby, you are close, but not close enough. And there's actually, let's see. No, Marjorie, no, Lori, you're too many, way too many. Okay, I'm going to tell you. There's 111. There's 27 data centers in Portland. The most is in Boardman. And of course, on this map, what's hilarious, they don't have Boardman anywhere near the map where it really is. They have it, looks like Bend. They put this little bubble showing 30 over like Bend instead of Boardman. And then the next highest is going to be in Umatilla at 16 and Hermiston 15, 111 data centers. And are they counting satellite workers? That I don't have any idea. Data centers don't, the biggest most people that they employ there is actually security. I know a few people that work security at these data centers, and they have more. I'm going to post post this map that shows the data centers. And, that's what people call the cloud. And now, cackling comrade Kamala Harris, she says, the cloud up there. No, the cloud's not up there. That's what's in the sky. That's not where the data cloud is. It is something else. So I was really surprised in reading this story because it says data centers being rapidly built in the West are becoming an emerging risk to the electrical grid reliability in the region, according to regional transmission experts. And do you know what is our most reliable energy that we have in the West? It's hydropower. Let's see, Oregon banned nuclear 30 plus years ago, about the same time that they considered hydropower not renewable energy. And they've quit the coal plants that we had. And then they didn't build the, liquefied natural gas generating plants. And it is so, that's what we have is actually hydropower, and it generates a lot. But I know here in Umatilla County that the data centers are actually purchasing hydropower, generated energy. That's what they're purchasing. And at least that's what I was told at a meeting I went to that was a hearing on them. And so a data center can be built in as little as 18 months. So they are far outpacing the growth in new electrical energy supply and transmission. And that's one of the biggest problems is the transmission, because you can only fit so much electricity on that size on a wire and you just can't put more. I wish we had David here because David could really talk about this. And I've always loved talking with David about the whole electrical thing. But it's a problem. And it's not just Amazon, it's all of the data centers, different organizations that have them. And we as consumers, oh yeah, put my stuff in the cloud. You know what? I've got on my laptop here that I'm using to do captive audience on, I don't store anything in the cloud. It's in my computer or it's on a drive. I have another storage device that I put things on. The cloud, no, 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 no. So that's just me, but we have so much. Yeah, Marjorie says her cloud's full. Well, it should be raining. When the clouds get full, they make rain. Just kidding, Marjorie. And yeah, and they're taking the Klamath Dam down. Absolutely. So I just wanted to kind of talk about some things like that to you, and it's interesting. And then I have a topper of a story on this topic, and that is here is an article from the Daily Caller, and it's on energy. And I'm going to post a link here for you. There we go. And yes, it is about control. You are so right, Lori. Most climate policies do not bring down emissions, a new study finds. Well, of course they don't, because the studies that they've been doing have been computer models. Well, the models are only as good as the information that they're fed. That's it. Computer modeling is just pie in the sky. It's theory. And so apparently only a small percentage of climate policies instituted globally have actually resulted in any significant emission reductions, according to a study published earlier in August in Science, a respected, let's say respected scientific publication. And the new study, titled Climate Policies That Achieved Major Emissions Reduction, Global Evidence from 2 Decades, used artificial intelligence to assess 1,500 different climate policies pursued across 41 nations. between 1998 and 2022, aiming to determine which type of policies have prompted significant emission cuts. The study's analysis found that only 63 of those policies, of the 1,500 policies, 63 of the 1,500 policies constituted successful policy interventions, meaning just 4% of the measures evaluated in the study sample effectively reduced emissions. And when you don't, and I'll tell you what bothers me about this is we are killing the United States all for the sake, like the United States is responsible for all the emissions produced around the world. When you have India and China spewing, India is built and China are building more coal plants by like rolling them out, and they don't have the digesters that we had here in America on them. And so these huge polluters. So across 4 sectors, 41 countries in 2 decades, they found 63 successful policy interventions with large effects that reduced total emissions between 0.6 and 1.8 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide. And that's what the study states. Moreover, most of the emission cuts observed in the study were the result of 2 or more policies having a combined effect. So basically, it's a bunch of nothing. And I will say when things like this started, climate change, frankly, policies are a hoax, but we do have cleaner air because of a lot of good policies. But we shouldn't have to continue with this and at the sake of killing a nation and the productivity of a nation like the United States. When you have, as I mentioned, and that's just a few, there's lots of countries that are not doing anything. These just happen to be the 2 largest and most populous, India and China, that aren't doing anything like what we're doing. And I'm not at all supportive of killing the economy of America, much that our legislators have done. So I just wanted to, thought that might just share something with you there, because I thought it's most climate policies do not bring down emissions. And, and frankly, the Democrats' massive green energy agenda is walking America right into China's hands. And it is because of the trace minerals that come from China, the wind turbines, the blades, blah, 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 all of this, solar panels, all of that. Well, I wanted to take you into we're going to switch gears a little bit, actually quite a bit. And starting Sunday, September, it's taking effect September 1st, which will be Sunday. Oregon's ghost gun ban takes effect after the legal challenge that did not get any solution for us. And Laura, you're right. It's all spotted out politics. You're 100% correct. I believe that. I agree with you. So, unfortunately, the ghost gun ban, if you don't have a serial number and if it's not trackable or traceable through a metal detector, you shouldn't be owning it in Oregon. Wanted you to know, a little heads up. And this is a story out of Coin that was from Wednesday that we didn't cover, and I wanted to make sure I did it today. That the Second Amendment does not encompass, this judge wrote in her opinion, And so after the plaintiffs law argued that the law under House Bill 2005 violated their Second and 14th Amendment rights, United States District Judge Adrian Nelson denied the motion August 20th, saying the Second Amendment right is not unequivocal. The Second Amendment does not encompass the right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever for whatever purpose, she wrote in her opinion. And the judge offered a similar opinion on the law's ban on undetectable guns or guns made with materials that do not trigger metal detectors, noting the plaintiffs had offered no evidence as to why, aside from illicit purposes, law-abiding citizens would prefer an undetectable firearm. Well, it's your right to make it, quite frankly. If you've got a 3D printer and you print one of these things up, it is your right. And yet, I believe this, I should get challenged because there was a Supreme Court case or a case in another state that they deemed, and it was an appeals course, I want to say. It might have been, I don't know if it was a circuit court or what, because it doesn't talk about it in this article, that they said, that they was trying to stop people from owning firearms was unconstitutional. Well, the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. It doesn't say you only get to have this kind of gun or that kind of gun. Oh, I know what it was. It was on a machine gun. Oh yeah, and a court actually said that's unconstitutional. You can own a machine gun. It's okay. So, we're not, I don't think this is settled law by any means, even here in Oregon. I don't. But as of September 1st, it will be the law of the land, like it or not, until it's challenged. And the first time violators, let's see. So it says that starting September 1st, guns manufactured after October 22nd, 1968, along with unfinished frames or receivers, must have serial numbers. First-time violators may face a fine of up to $1,000. Repeat offenders may face higher fines and potential jail time or prison time. And to comply, guns, frames, and receivers can be taken to a federally licensed gun dealer to be serialized. And, like I said, the Second Amendment says, and shall not be infringed. Wanted you to know about this. Wanted you to know. We have to pay attention to what's coming up, and don't like it, but don't like it. But it's going to be the law of the land. Now, turning to did y'all watch Comrade Cackling Kamala? Did you watch that pathetic interview, 18-minute interview that they had to stretch out with, I don't know, 6-8 commercials to make it be an hour? It was awful. And Walls was just as bad, not answering questions, not, evading the answer. I got the question, evading the answer. And so Lars Larson says Kamala's constant contradictions. And Kamala offers us a striking example of politics making strange bedfellows. And I'll tell you, politics does make for strange bedfellows. Never say never. And you just don't know who might, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Kamala once bashed President Trump for his successful efforts to build hundreds of miles of new border wall, calling it a medieval vanity project. And yet, She also wrote that Trump's border wall was a complete waste of taxpayer money and won't make us any safer. Yet last week at her DNC coronation in Chicago, she vowed to sign the law that funds 650 million in new border wall. Well, hello, a judge ordered it. A judge ordered it. And so this is nothing new for Democrats. Like the weather in the Northwest, if you don't like Kamala's plan, just wait 5 minutes and it will change, because she said she would ban fracking and now she says she's not. It is flip flopping Comrade Kamala. Flip flopping Comrade Kamala. And Lars Larson says, if you're marking Kamala on your ballot, you're buying a pig in a poke. And I would agree. I would agree. So, the First Amendment, our right to free speech, is really under attack. If you're not watching the news, you might not realize it. But in Sweden, they are freedom. This article from PJ Media, Robert Spencer wrote, freedom of speech dies in Sweden and isn't too healthy in the rest of the West either. Well, what's going on is a couple of people are being tried and will be eventually probably, they're going to trial for the crime of burning the Quran in Sweden. And in this article, it talks about how, hello, have you, are you paying attention to who's running the country over there? Now, I wouldn't want to see anybody burn the Bible. I don't like seeing people burn our flag, but we also have the right to speech, and that, while we might not like it, I would defend somebody's right to do that. To be tried for that, I believe, is wrong. So, along with what's going on in Sweden, then we have Elon Musk is getting Brazil. Brazil is telling Elon Musk, you've got to shut down X. And in Brazil, in fact, the Supreme Court ordered him to shut down. And he actually, in his own post, said that I'm just not going to charge for it. For those of you that are using his hardware and his services, he's not on X, but his what's it called? I'm having a brain moment here. He has internet service. He says, I'm just not charging for it. And so Starlink. So people can continue to use Starlink. He's not going to charge. They've frozen his bank accounts in Brazil. And he says no. And in fact, he said, I will continue Starlink services until this is resolved in the courts. And the court has fully suspended X in Brazil for non-compliance in appointing local legal representatives. And he shut down the X offices because the dictator there is wanting to jail and arrest those that were working for X. And so it's getting really bad. Then also with Elon Musk, there is some good news, though, for Elon. Elon Musk notches a legal victory as a Texas judge rules that X suit against Media Matters can proceed. And that's going to be Media Matters accusing him of X of some... they were running certain ads next to some advertisements and whatnot. And so Elon says, let's just go to court over it. And so I'm glad that the judge is saying the suit can go ahead, because we have to push back at every way, shape, and form that we can. And then you have the founder of Telegram in France has been arrested upon stepping off the plane. And now the judge is releasing him on a $5 million bond and says you can't leave France. And it is over what may or may not be happening on Telegram. None of these social media companies have any control over what people are doing on there. Now, they shouldn't be allowing child pornography. They shouldn't be allowing many things. I, to prostitution and many things they should not be allowing. But to say, you're doing this and we're going to arrest you because let's see the proof. And apparently they didn't have it. But it's truly, in my opinion, over the fact that he would not allow the government to have a back door into Telegram and see and now actually Russia, what's hilarious is Russia is coming out and going, no, 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 no. You don't need to do that. And there's a legal group that has launched an investigation into whether the Biden-Harris administration had possible role in the Telegram CEO's arrest. Would that surprise me? No. Also, another First Amendment, China convicts a journalist over illegal ideologies in a landmark Hong Kong case. We are seeing, there was a woman arrested silently praying outside of a abortion clinic in England, in the UK. And she was sentenced. There's a lot of things happening. Pay attention. In fact, I want to say, if you're not on X, get on it. If you're not on Truth Social, get on it. It's not a commercial. It's my opinion. And because you will have the ability to follow some of these people directly and hear from them directly instead of filtered. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of good information. There's also a lot of information that you need to take with a grain of salt. Don't know if it's true. And I usually find out about some things way before I might see it on mainstream media. But we're going to find out. This is going to be really interesting if the Biden-Harris administration had something to do with the CEO, founder and CEO of Telegram's arrest. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. So I'll tell you, I was not impressed with the interview, either Comrade Kamala or Walls. But I agree with you, Marjorie. I am impressed with Elon Musk. And the Trump-Vance campaign rolled out a brutal new ad, which I'm going to post a link here to it. It's really good. Yes, we do need discernment in everything. Everything. You are absolutely right. So this ad is hilarious. I wish I don't have it so that I can just play it for you. But it is funny, and Trump is just so spot on. And frankly, I think Harris and Walls are just a dumpster fire. I don't think it's a lot of, in my opinion, there's polls out that go, oh my gosh, Harris is above Trump in the polls. I can't believe that. I just can't. I don't know. So I wanted to talk also a little bit about the immigration, because there are some crazy things happening. So 2 school buses yesterday were nearly hijacked in California, in San Diego County. And so now they've got a policy that if they see a bunch of illegal immigrants at a school bus stop, the bus isn't even going to stop at all. That's how bad it is. Then there is a gang in Colorado that's taking over apartment buildings, armed gangs, and it's awful. And there's a Venezuelan gang as well, and they are they are just taking over. They're going, well, you pay the rent to us. You pay the rent to us. Well, the apartment owners are shutting down the apartments. And this is stuff and this is in Aurora, Colorado. They're seeing things there that they have never, ever seen in America. And it is, things were very ruthless in Venezuela. And it is just, it's crazy. It's beyond crazy. And so they've got to, this is what has been allowed to walk over the border. Not properly vetted. There was no vetting. This mass migration, the asylum seekers. Asylum seekers, they're not asylum seekers at all. At all. They're for economic refuge. That's not what we're here for. We're not here for economic refuge, and it's atrocious. But as I hear on mainstream media, the great replacement, well, I believe it. And pay attention. Pay attention around you, because there's so many millions in our country. Do we even know how many? I don't know. I don't know. I don't even think the administration knows, especially with the gotaways. And, but so I just wanted to talk a little about that, because it's like, oh, we're going to have a war on the illegals. Well, we haven't won internal war yet. The war on drugs, we've lost, and I've got a story here. The Massachusetts Republicans are challenging the state on a secretive $1 billion migrant crisis spending. So they're demanding answers. The Massachusetts Republicans are demanding answers on what exactly the Democrats running the state spent a whopping $1 billion of migrant crisis spending on. This is $1 billion of taxpayer money. And I will tell you, under the Biden-Harris debacle of an administration, they have thrown money around because they have a printing press. And it is only the federal government that has a printing press. And it is going to be quite painful for us trying to get out of what's happened. And to us economically, immigration-wise, which is why we have to do everything we can to get Trump elected. We just have to. And Ireland, so I'm going to talk about some other countries, because it is Ireland, and because they're now sourcing its national police from other countries. They're importing migrant cops. Do you know why? Because a migrant cop will shoot you. Just like these people I've seen, watched videos upon video and video of the Chinese and other nationalities of fighting young, single fighting age men coming across the country, and knowing it's an invasion. Is it the UN? Is it China? Is it what country? Or is it's putting an army, instilling an army here in the United States? I don't know. These are just my speculations. And because if it could very well be, these are the people that we have to fight. When you think, well, our National Guard wouldn't just turn on American people. Well, let me tell you, a foreign army will in a minute. In a minute. And yeah, Kathy, I see about Measure 118, and Absolutely. We don't want that, but more importantly, and I don't think it will pass. And I'm because there's the governor's against it. There's going to be a lot of opposition, a lot of pushback on it. But this is scary. A law school dean tells MSNBC it's time to scrap the Constitution. And this is Erwin Chemerinsky, the dean of the University of California at Berkeley's law school. He called for a new constitution today, claiming that failing to make changes would cause the U.S. to drift toward authoritarianism. We're already drifting there under our Constitution because of the lawlessness that's going on. We don't need a new Constitution. We just need to kick ass on the laws that we already have and the rights that we have. He says that the Electoral College is, increasingly to choose the president who lost the popular vote. That's the same argument. And he also talks about Supreme Court justices need to have a tenure, not, just life, and let's give them that. So, yes, this is a law professor that wants to undo the Constitution because he doesn't like the parameters that it has and it gives. Well, I will tell you, when you start changing our Constitution, that's when the communists will absolutely take in. That's exactly what they did in Venezuela. They suspended the Constitution, and that was the end. That wasn't the beginning of the end. It was the end. And that it went to a dictator and to absolute communism. And so I know that we will see, I'm seeing some comments about that. I have some good news. Before I get into some of your comments, I have some good news. It's not all bad. It's not all bad. A Texas state representative has announced she is leaving the Democrat Party for the Republican Party of Lincoln, the party that supports economic empowerment and parental rights. So this is great. Representative Sean Nicole Theory, 146th District, announced today that as a woman, a mother, and a lawmaker who dedicated her life to championing the values that fortify our families and uplifting our communities, she decided that after much reflection, prayer, and soul searching, to leave the Democrat Party. And she said the decision to switch parties is in line with her core values and the best interests of our beloved country. She posted that on X. As the Democrat Party has veered so far left, so deep into the progressive abyss, that it now champions policies that I cannot, in good conscience, support policies like promoting sex changes for children during a vulnerable stage in their lives and dismantling Title IX protection for women in sports. So I say, welcome, Sean Nicole Theory. Welcome to the Republican Party, because the Democrat Party left you. It is not the same. And, that's great. That's great. I have another bit of educational news. It's educational, it's good, but it's something to think about, because I saw a story that the Postmaster General said, you know what? They are very, very confident they'll be able to handle the mail-in ballot. Well, I'm going to post this story so you have it in our comments, because it will show you just how bad the Postmaster General can be. This is a story from the Epoch Times, and it is from yesterday. A postcard mailed in 1903 finally arrives at the address over 120 years later. Does that give you confidence in the postal service to get your ballot delivered on time? Not me. It doesn't give me any confidence whatsoever. And how do you like that? A 121-year-old postcard arrives at its destination, and it was far too long for Miss Lydia Davies to receive the postcard addressed to her, which was sent in 1903, to arrive at her place, the same old building today, 121 years later. And it is a wintry scene with snow-covered mountains and an antlered stag crossing a fallen log. And it's cool to look at a postcard that old, and this cursive writing on it that sadly, most children can't read today, any cursive writing. And so there you are. There you are. Did I know? So now I'm going to look at some of your comments. Did I know that 3 or 4 U.S. representatives in the House are listed in the Progressive Democrat caucus? No, I didn't. But I will tell you, that doesn't surprise me. Postage was probably a penny. You know what? Now let me see. And it was a postcard. So, postcards are a lot less money. Let's see if it tells, because I didn't read in here that it did. And the postman came to the door as normal with lots of letters regarding mortgages, savings, and as one of the managers was sorting through it, this postcard dropped onto the table, no envelope and no note, just as it was. It had a King Edward stamp, fit the 1903 postmark perfectly. So I have now got about 10 shillings pocket money. Oh, this is what the postcard, it says. Let's see. Dear L, I could not. It was impossible to get the pair of these. I'm so sorry, but I hope you're enjoying yourself at home. I have got now about 10 shillings pocket money, not counting the train fare, so I'm doing all right. The message went on to make a special mention to remember me to Miss Gilbert and John, with love to all from Ewart. And it does not show, I can't read it, what the cost of that stamp is. And the stamp is King Edward. How cool is that? I think it's cool anyway. I like historical things. And this is a historical. 121 years later. Boy, oh boy. Let me tell you, your ballot could get lost for 120 years in the mail. Don't mail your ballot. Put it in a drop box. All right, guys. Yeah, signed, sealed, and delivered. You remember when the Postal Service used to be through rain and sleet and snow? It would always get delivered. They don't do that anymore. Here in my town, when it snows, they hold our mail. I live on a hill. Even though the hill is graveled, our old postman always came. He threw the chains on that his little postal truck, and he'd come up here and go down, and he had chains on his shoes. He was the old real deal. And now, sadly, it's a bunch of snowflakes. So it's not like it used to be. You guys have a great weekend and enjoy your Labor Day. I hope it's with family and friends. And we'll be back here. I don't know if Kevin is doing a show on Monday. He hasn't let me know. But you might be surprised. He might be here. Otherwise, he'll be here on Tuesday. He might take a holiday too. So, there we are. Have a great weekend. God bless you all. And, just remember those that you love and hold them close, because life is short. We never know. We never know. um, when things might change.